Hey guys, what's up? Today we're gonna make some bread. We're gonna make something called a pagnota. Don't know to say the name, but it's just a white bread with a nice crunchy crust. Pretty basic, but it's nice and simple. It'll be fun. So it's pretty simple recipe. We have flour, water, and yeast. That's basically it. And there's some salt, which is super important. So what we're gonna first start out to do is get our yeast ready. So here we have a half cup of warm water. And what we're going to take our yeast. We're going to be using some active dry yeast. Some people like to use like wild yeast, and that's kind of what they did like when bread was first invented. It's just in the air and they can collect it, stuff like that. But dry yeast is easier and it's much more reliable. So what we're going to do is a spoon. What we're going to do is we're going to take a big spoonful of yeast. I like to use a bit more. I use about a tablespoon, about one big spoonful of yeast. We're going to put it in here. And then we're also going to put a little sugar in it because I like to do it because for me it helps me see that they're releasing more gas. So what yeast is, it's basically just a bacteria, and right now it's sleeping. But now that we put it in a warm environment, and we're gonna give it some, basically some food, kind of. You don't need to add the sugar. I just like to do it to give it a little last meal, kind of. It's not a big deal. So what's gonna happen is the yeast is gonna release some gas as I go through making the dry mixture, and that's gonna bubble up, and then when we add it in, it's going to make the bread rise. So the first thing we're going to do next after that is we are going to do our flour mixture. And this is super simple, because all it is it's 7 cups of flour. We're going to use, it's just all-purpose white flour. People use sometimes like mixtures of whole wheat flour and white flour. I'm using all-purpose because it's what we have and it's what I have most often. So, and I just have good results with it. You probably get some like bolder flavors or different flavors if you use whole wheat bread, whole wheat dough, whole wheat flour. But I think this works just fine. And I'm also going to get all my utensils. Okay, I have a knife. And we're just going to measure 7 cups. So this recipe is super easy. It's important though because this is baking in a way. I mean it is, but it's not as precise. It doesn't have to be as precise as like other baking, like cupcakes and all of that. But it still has to be precise. Gotta know what you're putting in. Yeah. And when we cook it, it's going to be pretty cool. Just gonna do it. So now we have our 7 cups of flour here, and what we're going to do is we're going to add the salt. And so the salt is really important because here we're just using kosher salt, but without salt it doesn't really have much of a flavor, and so you need salt. The recipe that I use just says 1 tablespoon, but I always add a bit more because it tastes better. So that's it. So then what we're going to do is we're going to grab wooden spoon here. That way there's not going to be any other like flavor. Sometimes metal spoons can add some different like flavors and stuff into it. We don't want to do that. Also, we're just going to mix the salt in so it's evenly mixed. Also, what some people do, I don't do it because it's too much work for me, to be honest. And it's just a lot more to think about, is they add something called a biga or a starter. This is similar to like a sourdough starter where it's It's the yeast mixture started with some flour in it. It does add a lot. It does add some more flavor and helps with rising processes. But you don't have to do it. It does make it better if you have that time or want to do it. But if you're just trying to make a quick bread for dinner or a party or something, then you don't need to do it. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take our bowl and we're going to attach it to our mixer here. And we're going to use this right here. This is called a dough hook. And its purpose is to beat dough, basically. It has kind of the same thing. You can do this not with a mixer. You can do it in a bowl and doing it by hand and stuff, but this is a quicker method to do so. So at this point we can see that the yeast mixture has gone pretty big. It's released a lot of gas, so that's pretty awesome. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to add this, and we have 2 3/4 cups of cool water that we're also going to add into the mixture. So we're going to add this first, right in here. There we go, and then our 2 3/4 cup of water. Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to put this on low. We got to be careful because there's a lot of dry ingredients at the beginning, so it doesn't overflow. So as this is mixing together, just going to let it go for a little bit. The flour is still incorporating in here. And if you were to do this, say in a bowl, you can do this totally by hand. This process here of just mixing the flour and the liquids in, it'll take about 5 minutes, and you'll keep that in the bowl. And then once that's all mixed together, you'll put the spoon away using a wooden spoon, and you can just mix it by you'll knead it by hand in the bowl, and that'll be another like 15 to 20 minutes with a couple rest periods in between. But by using a KitchenAid mixer here, you can like shorten that period a lot because it's a lot more intense and it's more consistent kneading. So I use it. We'll still take a couple breaks in there to give the dough some time to relax. But what this is doing is this is forming the gluten in the bread. We all know what gluten is, I hope. So it's making that all the stringies, making it nice and stretchy and yummy. That's what that's going to be doing. So we're going to let it go for a little bit. What sometimes happens, what happened now, is the dough can be a little too wet. And just to fix that, I just add more flour. So some flours absorb water differently. And what happens is your dough can be too wet or too dry. Right now the dough that I have is a little too wet, so what I'm going to do is just add more flour. It's a simple fix, and just add it until what you want to have is something that looks very smooth and like elasticy, and you want it to be able to hold its shape. So I'm just going to add a couple spoonfuls and see where that goes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pull it out and knead a little bit more, just show you a little bit how to do that. So we have to flour down our surface, make sure that it's not going to stick to it. What we're going to do is go drop this down. Make sure you're going to have one clean hand and one dirty hand, and that just makes everything easier to work with. So I'm going to grab this out and still a little wetter than I would like it to be, but we can fix that right now. So what we're going to do is going to knead it a little bit. What you want to be doing is you're pushing forward and you're going to be rolling it here. always want to be switching directions when you do this. So you're not always just pushing it in one spot. See, it's already coming together a lot better than it was before. See, it's starting to stick here. Just add some more flour down there. So what you're doing here is you're working it all around. You're kind of making it into a little ball here, kneading it around, getting that gluten really going. What you're doing is you're folding in, taking you outside, you're folding it to the center and pushing it back out in a wave kind of motion here. You want to be pushing with the heel of your palm here, never with your fingers. You can grab it up here and push with your palm. Push down into the dough. And so what we're going to come with is we have this nice, lovely round piece of dough. We can see that it's, if you can see, it bounces back. That's really nice and elasticy. You can see here, it's pretty stretchy. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this here for the time being. And we're going to get our bowl. What our bowl is going to do is what we're going to do is we're going to rise it. So we have our bowl, nice metal bowl. We're going to put some olive oil in it. The olive oil, what that's going to do is that's just going to keep it from sticking. So just a nice bit of olive oil. Move it around the whole thing. What you're going to do is you're going to take your nice dough ball here, and you're just going to make a nice little ball, and you're going to plop it in the bowl and let it rise for about hour and a half until it doubles in size. And then once we do that, we're going to knock it down. We're going to let it rise again. We're going to cover it up so nothing gets in it and leave it in a nice room temperature, warm place. The more heat, it's obviously going to rise faster. Just going to leave this and we'll come back to it. Awesome. We're back after about 2 hours, I think. So here it's rising, it's doubled in size. We're just going to punch it down here. What you can do is you can let it rise again and double it again, but we're just going to form them now instead. This over here. I think I have the metal thing. Actually, so we're gonna just get it kind of in its own little thing. We don't want to knead it again really because we don't want to pop any of those air bubbles that formed. So we're just going to cut it in half. Yeah. This off to the side. And we have it. We're just going to kind of fold it into itself to make our loaves. You know, stretch it out a little bit too. There you go. There is one loaf there. Pretty good looking one. Then we get our other one here and just do the same thing. And it's just kind of a motion like this. You're kind of folding it into itself like here. Out. And so it's been like an hour, we let it rise. They're bouncing back, which is what you want. We're just gonna get some cuts on it so they don't like blow up in the oven. Now we're gonna put some salt on it just for taste. And then we're gonna put them in the oven. We have a stone on there right now that we're just gonna put them on there. Oops. And then there's some water, there's a bucket of water at the bottom of there. And what we're gonna do is, once we put them in here, we're gonna splash a little bit of it so it'll hit the steam. That's going to create some steam so that there's going to be crust on the bread. It's going to cook at 425 for like degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes, and then we're going to steam it again, and then knock it down to 400 degrees for 30 minutes. So, good. So it's been 40 minutes, and they look pretty good already. But we can test if they're done. If you tap on the bottom, they should make a hollow sound on the bottom. Sounds good. Yeah, so these are done. I'm gonna put them on a cooling rack. And then you gotta let them rest it's hot, for a little bit before you cut them. But then that's it, all good. So the bread's had some time to cool, so now we can cut it, and let's see what it looks like. Here we go. Now let's cut the slice out. And there's your bread, still warm, and we can put some butter on it, and your knife.